Okay, time to get ready for the Zoom call. Log it on. Okay, now to wait 15 minutes until everybody shows up. Oh, here they come in now. Here they come. All right, everybody's in. Good morning, guys. I thought we could start with a check-in. Why don't we go with Jackson first?
So since it is the month of June, I figured that I could write about togetherness in Pride Month. And being a gay teen has had its ups and downs, but every year when Pride comes around, I find that the LGBTQ community is surrounded by love. Parades, marches, and celebrations of the many ways to love and be loved are inspirational and empowering to watch, as well as the homage to Black trans women who have fought more than anyone else for equality in society. In 2018, I went to my first Pride parade after having come out to my mom. Watching everyone proudly show their true colors without hesitation was such an empowering experience for 13-year-old me. The men in makeup, the iconic Lady Gaga song Born This Way, blasting at every stand, and the unique gap between the threshold of the ordinary world and the reveal to what it truly means to be prideful. For those who fought for LGBTQ+ rights for countless decades are now watching over modern day, beaming at those who are comfortable in their gender identity and sexuality. I can confidently conclude that there is a place at the end of the rainbow, and it is where everyone is recognized as equal regardless of who they are or who they love. And while we may not be completely there yet, it is our job as both disciples of Christ and as human beings to support those who need our help the most. From Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 through 14, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity."
Great check-in. Thanks, Jackson. Grayson, would you like to go next?
Well, since we're talking about finally coming together after such a long time, I think I'll talk about my social abilities. And I don't think I am alone when I say that I've mostly forgotten how to be social over these past few months. We haven't been able to spend as much time with each other for a while, and it really makes you appreciate the company of other people. Now that life is finally starting to return to normal, if normal is the right word, what should we do? Make up for lost time, visit friends, eat at that really good restaurant. I just know I won't be joining any more Zoom calls after this one. But there is something I have been thinking about. How's it going to feel not having to wear this mask everywhere I go? It's going to be strange. Just a year ago, I wouldn't have even thought about bringing this outside the house, but now it's just second nature. It's weird how after 1 year of doing something, it all changes, just like that. But there's also the, there's also the figurative masks we wear when interacting with other people, especially now after the pandemic. It's like, what do we say? We haven't seen you in a year. How do we start off this conversation? And so while these may still be important, I think we should take down these figurative masks so we can have a good conversation with other people. Thank you.
Great check-in. Thanks, Grayson. Henry, how about you?
The pandemic was hard on all of us in different ways. It kept us isolated from other people and prevented us with socializing with the people we loved. In other words, it prevented us from being together. But now that the pandemic is at its close and the vaccines are finally being rolled out, we can finally be together again. But first, we have to readjust. Readjusting can be difficult, believe me, I know. A full year of being locked in my house has made me forget all semblance of conversation skills I once had. But even with all of the social barriers in our way, even after every single tiny piece of conversation skill has left our minds, we still have the urge to be together, to talk to other people, and to be with them, or just around them. And no, I'm not talking about the people you all locked up with all year. I'm sure you got enough of those people for several years. All of a sudden, being thrust back into society after a long period of isolation can be disorienting. Suddenly realizing you actually have to drive to that meeting instead of attending it on Zoom is a prime example. But even after all of the confusion of re-entry and getting used to large crowds again, it is all made worth it by the fact that we get to be together again. We actually get to talk to people and not a camera. There is just something refreshing about actually talking to people face to face. You get a kind of energy from it that you can't get online, and that energy is what we need as a society to hold together and face the challenges of the world. But more importantly than that, we can have people to talk to again. We can have parties again. We don't have to stay at home and protect ourselves anymore. We can emerge from our dens and actually be together as a community. The church never stopped, but it sure is good to be back again. And yet, after all is said and done, after all of the socialization we are finally getting after a long period of not, it sure was convenient to not have to catch the bus to school every day.
Great check-in, Henry. Thanks. Jack, looks like you're up.
The only thing predictable about life is its unpredictability. A quote from Remy from the Disney movie Ratatouille. This quote could quite literally be the anthem for the past year and 4 months. But now we are entering this transitional period where things are returning to what we call normal. We get to have our normal school and sport activities and get to hang out with all of our friends like summer should be. But to me, this coming back together can be a source of fear. More than ever, I have found myself overthinking every little thing, trying to predict what would happen before every social event would even start. But once I get there, I start to realize that buildup of fear and anxiety just disappears, like a snap. Being together made it so myself and the people around me can thrive off of one another's stories and experiences. It's the unpredictable moments in between everyday life that make those real connections. The entire world has not been able to have very many real connections beyond the dull Zoom screen. So now we can start to take those connections we build with people in communities around us and value them more than ever. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all. The Emperor from Mulan, yet another Disney movie. Through the thousands, and I mean literally thousands of Disney quotes, this one stood out to me. Each of our lives has been faced with adversities in many ways, but those adversities are what make us closer together. Many of the connections made within the past year have been some of the most meaningful and passionate connections of all. Because of the adversity we faced during COVID in our day-to-day lives for such a long period of time, the world hasn't really seen something quite like this, which would make it hard to continue to build the previously made connections. We couldn't see each other as often and had to look at each other through a virtual environment, but now we can talk to one another face to face and build our relationships again like pre-2020. We can come together as a community and thrive. Now, thinking back to it, I think Remy was wrong. There are two things predictable about life, the unpredictable and that humans were made to be together.
Great check-in, Jack. Hey, I have good news. I just got an email from Chris, and we can go back to church. We don't have to do Zoom anymore. So let's log off and get going.